expertise or as appropriate that will be needed in order to go forward. We are very pleased to see such strong interest from the member states and the partners, as the success of this international year obviously will very much depend on our collective efforts. I wish to remind us that this webinar is now recorded and will be shared also through emails and will be posted on the website as one of the items on the repository for the international year. I wish to recall that the International Year was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly through Resolution A-RES 78-260, recognizing tourism's important contribution to sustainable development, resilience, environmental protection, poverty reduction, and international cooperation. And UN Tourism has been entrusted with leading its implementation together with all United Nations member states, private sector, academias, and all partners in tourism along the value chain. And we strongly believe that it comes at a particularly important moment, 10 years after the last one in 2017. An important moment first, because we believe it's an opportunity to celebrate how far tourism has come over the past decades and to recognize the positive contribution it makes every day to the economies, to our communities, to the livelihoods, and the people's well-being around the world. So a moment of celebration. At the same time, it is important, given that with the growing numbers, destinations around the world continue to face challenges from climate change to geopolitical uncertainty to increasing pressures on natural and cultural resources. It offers us, therefore, a platform to find together solutions and exchange knowledge on such solutions. So it's a moment for finding solutions to these joint challenges. And thirdly, it's an opportunity to advocate, to further showcase the importance of tourism across the major global agendas, from climate change to peace building to biodiversity. It is this advocacy work that the International Year can give us. And this is relevant because we need to ensure that tourism has its place within these global discussions on the global agendas, on your level, on the national levels, at the destination level, but also the international level. So it's this moment of advocacy. And this is also important for the post-2030 agenda and all the discussions that will come with the new Sustainable Development Goals. Tourism needs to be reflected, and the International Year can help us in giving us this prominence, this advocacy moment. Now, we are coordinating across the UN system, across the member states, international organizations, private sector, and destinations. And since the resolution was adopted, we have made good progress on our sides through consultation with member states and partners. I have the pleasure giving then the floor to Dr. Dirk Glaeser. He's our Director of the Sustainable and Resilient Tourism Department at UN Tourism. And he's the one who has worked now on, together with the member states and the partners and the House, on the implementation roadmap, on the thematic work, on the content, which content we need to cover during the International Year, and what everybody can do and how we are going to do things. And one of these implementation mechanisms are going to be these national coordination bodies, about which we will hear more and learn more. It is an interactive session. You can ask all the questions that you need to ask, and we look forward to this session now. With this, Dirk, please, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us today, and look forward to the deliberations now. Thank you. Dirk, please.
Thank you, Cordula. Thank you very much. The Regional Director for Europe, assisted by Marc Alemani from the Department of Europe. From our side, let me quickly introduce my colleague, Sofia Gutierrez, the Deputy Director. Sofia, just wave. And then there is Vanessa Satur. She will also speak. Ke Chao, he will present later on also, and assisted by Lorna Hartantio, Pauline Guerin, and Veronica Salazar, who prepared the slides for today's session. Purpose is to be practical and to give you the opportunity to ask questions and to clarify with us in a best possible manner the different questions which might have come up already when it comes to establishing national committees, a very important mechanism to deliver, to function. And let's dive right into that. Next slide, please. The timeline from 26 to 27 explained. No, let's go back. The purpose of today's onboarding webinar, yes, that was explained extensively right now by the regional director already. We want to help you to give and present those questions in a structured manner. We have here today 3 different elements of question and answers. Whenever the thematic blocks are closing on one specific subject, we open up and encourage you to ask the practical questions. Otherwise, we continue from our side with the presentation. Thank you. Next slide. So the timeline 26 to 27, very important that this year, the year of preparation so far, has been yielding a lot of framework documents. The Executive Council has approved them, so we have the basis to guide you now very precisely through the process. And that is important because we are delegating authority. We are delegating a lot of authority to our member states, allowing them to create the international year to the best purposes of their own objectives and national tourism policies. Then we are moving in 2027 into the phase of implementation to finally support the post-2030 agenda to come. Next slide, please. So in the year of preparations, just to recall for those who haven't witnessed it themselves, we had 2 technical committees of the Committee of Tourism and Sustainability reviewing documents, discussing with the Secretariat the best way how to approach that, and especially taking a lot of experience from other international years having been celebrated, so that we are practical and use the most advanced logics and to celebrate this year, not only in communication terms, but especially to advance implementation. Next slide. So the year of celebrations will start actually very likely at the end of 2026 with the opening, which is foreseen during the Tashkent Tourism Fair. It will be hosted by Uzbekistan, the country which promoted and sponsored in 2024 the resolution, which is actually the legal basis for the celebrations of this international year. Then 5 flagship events, they have been presented to all regional commission meetings. There, the specific purposes were explained. This is what happens at the international level. At a very special, dedicated moment, we will brief you on that as well, just so that you remember. These are the events where the UN tourism, together with the international community, will be very strongly involved in developing these events and facilitating global access to those events. But there are many, many more opportunities, especially through national committees, and that is what today is about. Next slide. The year of consolidation is that we are basically here consolidating the experiences from the member states, from the national committees, the reportings, the different activities which took place at that level, at destination level, at the international level. And we are bringing that together with the experiences from the flagship events into the General Assembly, which is taking place in October, November next year in the Dominican Republic. And then we will close the international year as this was taking place on previous occasions. And here officially then submit the findings of that international year and the guidebook for the post-2030 negotiations for our sector. Next slide. With that, I have the pleasure right now to introduce again Sofia Gutierrez, the Deputy Director. Sofia, over to you.
Thank you, Dirk. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Let's speak about the strategic role and the strategic advantage of establishing a national committee. As you are probably aware, these national committees follow an international tradition of establishment, as there is a UN ECOSOC resolution 1980-67 on the celebration of international years, which places this kind of mechanism, national committees, national coordination mechanism at the center of international celebrations like the International Year of Sustainable and Resilient Tourism. And there are many strategic advantages. One of them is that the celebration of the International Year is a strategic opportunity for member states to further position tourism as a driver of sustainable development and act as a catalyst to fast-track domestic policy strategic goals in support of the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. And it will provide also a stronger visibility, greater influence, and it will ensure that there is an active contribution and reporting and facilitating also the coordination at the national level to ensure that efforts support each other rather than competing. And it's also a stakeholder consultation mechanism because it will be a coordinated channel that will facilitate and will bring together the relevant stakeholders of our sector. Next, please. Next slide. Can someone please advance the slides? Yeah, I did it. Now let's speak about the practical role of national committees. As I mentioned before, one of the main functions of this mechanism, whether national committees or national coordination mechanism, the main purpose is coordinated and enabling because they will serve as the national platform, ensuring, as I mentioned before, there will be coherence across activities, across the many sectors and the many stakeholders that could be involved in the celebration of the International Year, the ministries, the private sector, the NGOs, and academia. And it will be also, they will act as the official mechanism. They will authorize the local activities, the activities that take place at the national level, and they will be aligned with the UN tourism framework and also with the message agreed for the celebration of the International Year. And will ensure that those messages are translated, those principles are translated and are also scalable at the national level. Another important function of this national coordination or national committees is delivering and raising awareness. This will be done through capacity building, which will, of course, facilitate stakeholder training and will disseminate guidelines to strengthen skills and institutional capacities at the national level. Another way of delivering and raising awareness will be through advancing research, which will be done through collaboration with academia to improve data collection, to consolidate national and regional good practice. And as we know, another important role also of the national committees is that the feedback and the experiences that are going to be achieved through the activities that are going to be taking place at the national level, they will feed back into the process of preparing the post-2030 agenda, Sustainable Development Agenda. So overall, the raising awareness provides a unique opportunity for national committees within the framework of International Year of promoting public advocacy and communication initiative on the power of sustainable tourism for development, engaging also with national media. And connecting states, of course, because this is a way of connecting to UN tourism, to regional partners, to international organizations, will facilitate access to our member states, to regional and international networks and organizations in order to facilitate an exchange, best practice, data, the opportunity of participating in global discussions and dialogues on the future of sustainable tourism, or having a say on how we envisage the development of our tourism. And as I mentioned before, also contributing to the post-2030 agenda, because it will provide a formal outcome reporting. This is what is expected from the national committees, a pre-compilation of the discussion, the rich discussions that will be held at the national level. And this will translate this rich feedback from national results into strategic papers that will support our organization, UN Tourism, to guide multilateral negotiation, including, of course, the development of the post-2030 agenda. I will pause a little bit in case there is a question at this stage. Otherwise, I will continue with the presentation. If anyone has a question, please just raise your hand. No?
We encourage this question as much as possible. There's Katja. Katja.
Katja, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello, it's a question more mostly for the part of Dirk, but I would like to know. You talk about a meeting in República Dominicana, in Dominican Republic. Do you have already any month for that happen, or just?
Katja, this is the General Assembly. The dates of the General Assembly haven't been fixed so far, but it is foreseen for October, November next year.
Okay, October, November 27. Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
It's still quite some time ahead. Katja, can you just help us to understand you are calling on behalf of?
Portugal.
Portugal, I assumed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. No. Katja, is the questions related to national committees is clear?
Yes. Yes. The other thing is you will be available this, you make available this recording so we can see it later more calmly and take some doubts again. It's okay?
Yes. We will upload today's PowerPoint, we will upload the recording, and we will do more sessions of this kind. They will be different each and every time because the questions will be evolving. So don't think that this is your last webinar opportunity. We will do this right now, quite often, and to use here the joint learning opportunity among member states and to coach as best as possible from our side so that you can make good use of the material we are producing, but at the same time inspiring us, because the practical problems you have are practical problems we need to solve. And through this channel, we are finding out what issues you are facing, and in a timely manner, we can address them, not only for you, but hopefully for the larger group.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katja. And if there are no further comments or questions, let me continue. Establish national committees, guidance, and key steps. These are some proposed steps to serve as guidance for the establishment of these national committees. Usually involves the government designation. The government will designate lead ministry, since it's the International Year for Sustainable Resilient Tourism. That would usually be tourism. To coordinate the year, there will be an official establishment. The committees are established. We are the way that government decides to establish, because there is no one size fits all model for this. It could be through executive order, ministerial decision, or interministerial agreement. Then the committee will decide to prepare terms of reference, which will define the mandate, the governance structure, the meeting schedule, how the government sees the engagement. Because as I mentioned before, that at the heart of the international year is national ownership. So these national committees will only be meaningful if the member states decide and agree how they want to engage with the international year. They are there to support the preparation, the observance, and the follow-up of the international year, but in a way that makes sense nationally. And another step with this guidance for national committees, apart from the government designation, the official establishment, the terms of reference, is the appointment of members. As I said before, this usually will be led by the Ministry of Tourism, but there are so many other important ministries that the member state may want to invite, because as you all know, due to the cross-cutting nature of our sector, it would be important to include other ministries as well. We could include culture, environment, immigration, many economy, many other education, many other ministries that could be invited. And of course, the private sector, the academia, the civil society, and youth, NGOs, etc. It could be developed also a network strategy to use existing networks where possible or establishing new ones. And I think it's also important to mention here that if there is already a national mechanism that is established that could be used for the international year, there is no need to establish any other new mechanism, and you can use whatever already exists that fits the purpose as well. And the focal point alignment, because this will confirm and reaffirm that the national focal point, who will be the focal point with UN Tourism from this national committee, or otherwise the regular focal point that is already on file with our organization for any communications with UN Tourism. The first step for the establishment of or a setup of these national committees is already mentioned as a proposal as well. The development of a national action plan, a light action plan, I may say, which will basically outline the priorities, the flagship events, the campaign, the vision that the national committee or the member state has regarding their engagement with the international year, how that they see themselves engaging with this international year. Also, another important element is how to mobilize partnership and resources, because it's also very important to highlight that according to the resolution on the international year, all the activities that are going to be implemented for the purpose of the international year are to be done through voluntary contribution. So this line of mobilizing partnership and resources becomes also very important. It will encourage collaboration with public sector and also with private sector, academic, and other relevant stakeholders of our sector. Communication and outreach is important, is key to develop a media strategy to promote the international year and engage the public. This is a very unique opportunity for our sector to engage with the international year, to strengthen and to highlight the importance of our sector for the overall sustainable development goals and the contribution that our sector is delivering and can deliver for the future as well. And implementation of activities and reporting, this is also a very important element, because as I mentioned before, once the international year is over, there is the need for a preparation of not only the preparation of our official report for United Nations on the implementation of the international year, but also as a background document for the discussions in which our organization will be engaged, supporting the discussions of the post-2030 agenda. So the feedback of governments through the national committees will be very important, and it will support these global discussions on sustainability. And with that, I finish my part of the national committees, and we'll continue now with some practical use cases for you to see some practical implementation of different situations in which the national committees will have to play a role. I will pass the floor now to my colleague Vanessa. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me well. Yes, thank you. So as Sophia said, let's take a closer look at some scenarios. Next slide, please. So as both Sophia and Dirk have mentioned, UN Tourism would like 2027 to be a year through which member states can gather data, information, undertake research, and develop arguments which make a case for the role and positioning of tourism in a post-2030 world and the new SDGs. And while UN Tourism will on its own develop 3 flagship reports, member states are encouraged to develop their own knowledge and research base. And these contributions can take the form of policy papers, technical notes, thematic studies, background papers, case study compilations, and any other analytical material relevant to sustainable and resilient tourism. The work can be carried out by national committees, by academic institutions, research bodies, partner organizations, and any other relevant stakeholders. All research must be self-funded. It cannot be funded by UN Tourism. And research and knowledge can be undertaken independently even without the National Committee being involved. This is very important to underline. Not every research or publication material needs to be authorized by the National Committee. The National Committee intervenes only when the potential author would like International Year recognition, when it is a document which will be submitted to UN Tourism as a case study, a best practice, or for inclusion in the online knowledge and publication repository. Next slide, please. So, UN Tourism has prepared a detailed knowledge guidance document. The link can be found at the bottom of the slide. The link is also on our website. Yes, sorry.
You have to advance the slides.
No, it has advanced on my screen.
Oh, it has? Not here,
Yeah.
though. Okay, thank you,
Sorry. Has it advanced for everybody else? Yes, okay, thank you. All right. So UN Tourism has prepared a detailed knowledge guidance document. The hyperlink can be found on this slide, like I mentioned. Hyperlinks to all the documents. There's also a document on the national committees, how to set up our form, are on our website, and in the documentation which was submitted at the 126th session of the UN Tourism Executive Council held last month in Spain. So for International Year recognition, the National Committee must first insist that the authoring entity issue and sign a statement of responsibility, originality, and methodological integrity. This is Annex 1 of the Knowledge Guidance document. The statement confirms that responsibility of the content, the sources, the analysis, the findings, and conclusions rest fully with the authoring entity, and that the publication meets the applicable criteria set out in the guidance note. In the case where we have used artificial intelligence assisted tools have been used, UN Tourism also requires that this use is disclosed in the statement in a clear and transparent manner, which is confirming basically that AI tools have not replaced substantive human responsibility in terms of research, analysis, and conclusions, and they've not been used to fabricate or misrepresent data, references, quotations, or findings. Once the National Committee has received the statement of responsibility and is satisfied that the report or publication is compliant with the objectives of the International Year, the National Committee will also need to fill in a statement of relevance. This is Annex 2 of the guidance document. This is, again, I repeat, only in the cases when the National Committee would like to submit this publication, this report, etc., to UN Tourism for inclusion as a case study, a best practice, or for the knowledge repository. The knowledge repository will be featured on the International Year webpage. It will include UN Tourism's flagship reports. Inclusion of external publications in the repository is not automatic. As a rule, only external publications, again, accompanied by the statement of relevance issued by the relevant National Committee, and also with the statement of responsibility, originality, and methodological integrity, will then be submitted to UN Tourism, which will then review the study and take a decision on inclusion in the repository. Very important also, all publications must be made publicly available in final digital form free of charge and comply with formal requirements relating to accessibility, completeness, presentation, and metadata. Next slide, please. Another practical situation that can come up is how to authorize events. In this concrete case, UN Tourism has not yet prepared any guidance framework on how to organize events at a national level. Nevertheless, we do plan on preparing a technical note which will address the main questions which arise from member state consultations and onboarding sessions like these. In the meanwhile, though, there is a guidance document framework on thematic areas and their rationale, why they were chosen as thematic areas, and there is also a guidance document framework on flagship events. And as Dirk mentioned earlier, UN Tourism will be responsible for the organization of 5 global flagship events, each one anchored in one region of the world. This is in addition to the official opening and closing ceremonies. So we encourage national committees to develop and authorize a coordinated local calendar of events. There can be an official opening, national opening, and an official national closing ceremony. There can be conferences held at a local, regional, provincial level, and there can be national conferences that promote and raise awareness of sustainability and resilience in the tourism sector. It is very important to highlight that events should avoid being routine exchanges. Member states can use this opportunity of the International Year to position tourism within broader national debates, such as those on resilience, on territorial or regional development, on climate change, on sustainable transformation, and the post-2030 agenda. Many countries already have national tourism forums. They celebrate the World Tourism Day, for example. So use existing recurring events and mainstream the International Year into these. Use our reference material on thematic areas and rationale, as well as the reference material on flagship events to guide you on the range of topics that can be addressed through events organized by the national committees. And as Sophia mentioned, authorization of events can also be a means through which national committees can bring on board sponsors to help fund activities of the year. And national events or regional provincial events are also a fundamental means through which national committees can foster stakeholder dialogues across government, private sector, academia, NGOs, and local communities. Next slide, please. Has it changed for you? Yeah, okay, no, okay, then I'll continue. Here are some examples of topics which have been extracted from our guidance documents on thematic areas and rationale and flagship events. Just for your idea, like you see at the bottom of the slide, there are the links for the thematic areas and rationale and the flagship events. And if there are topics that a national committee would like to address through a national event and which is not explicitly mentioned in the guidance documents, please do not hesitate to contact UN Tourism for further information and clarification. Next slide. Our third practical scenario is how to authorize capacity building. Capacity building is an essential component of the International Year, as it provides an opportunity to translate theory into practice by building skills and knowledge in the fields of sustainability and resilience in tourism. And we encourage national committees, when designing their national work plans, to give consideration to including capacity building sessions which are scalable and adaptable to all types of audience. There can be capacity building just for tourism ministries. There can be capacity building to raise awareness about tourism for other ministries. There can be capacity building for private sector, capacity for local communities. But for capacity building to be aligned to the International Year, these must be designed around a set of 5 mandatory criteria and a minimum of 2 optional criteria. The role of the National Committee would be to review the training proposal that has been submitted by an authority that wants to organize, by an entity that wants to organize some training, and to determine if the criteria have been met. If this is the case, then the National Committee can give the organizer of the training access and use of the international logo. Please go back to the previous slide. Thank you. UN Tourism, and in the cases where national committees have not been established, UN Tourism would authorize after consultation with the corresponding Ministry of Tourism. And at the conclusion of the training, the organizer would be required to fill in a report template which UN Tourism has designed. It will require basic information such as the summary of the training proceedings, number of participants, breakdown by gender, types of profession, and dissemination activities. So again, for the role of the National Committee is that the training, the entity that organizes the training will submit the proposal to the National Committee. National Committee will ensure that the 5 mandatory criteria and the 2 optional criteria are being met. If they are being met, then they will give them access to the logo. And then the National Committee must follow up and send the organizer of the event the reporting framework, the template, which the organizer will fill in, send to the National Committee. The National Committee will review, make sure it's okay, and then they will send it to UN Tourism. Next slide. So here is just an illustration of what are the 5 mandatory criteria and the optional criteria for capacity building initiatives if they are to be aligned to the International Year. They are explained in full detail in the guidance document, and the hyperlink was on the previous page. Thank you. Next slide. So again, we can open up the floor if you have any specific questions on firstly on Sophia's slides on how to set up a national committee, and in this case on some of the practical examples that we have shared with you. Thank you. Yes, I think it's from Japan.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
very much for detailed explanation. We have a few questions. First, could you please clarify whether it is necessary to submit an application when establishing a national committee? And is it possible to establish national committee within this year by ourselves?
I will answer this question. You don't need to request authorization. You are absolutely authorized to move ahead on your own. It is only important that you communicate the focal point in case the focal point is a different one, because this will be the person who we give access to the portal through which most of the communication will take place between us and the National Committee. You can naturally, and we encourage even, to set up a national committee as soon as possible, long before 2027, so that you can coordinate activities well in advance.
Okay, so we organize by ourselves and no need to send approval or submit something to you in tourism.
No.
Okay.
We help you clarifying through webinars like this or individual contacts. We help you clarifying all questions, but the national committees and the guidance, which Sophia and Vanessa explained, are quite wide in its logic, and then that is enough. If there's any doubt about that, just come back to us. And when you are finalizing, just let us know who is the focal point. If the focal point is another person than the established focal point, so that we can enable the access to the portal.
Thank you.
What we also do encourage is that once the National Committee develops maybe its action plan or ideas of what they're doing, of course, feel free to share that with UN Tourism. It's always good for us to know what national committees are doing. It also just, if you have any questions, I think it's always good for us to know what different countries are doing at member states. It would also help us in our reporting to the General Assembly. It's good for us to know how many countries set up national committees, etc. All that information is always helpful for us.
Thank you so much. Sorry, one more question. We heard UN Tourism provide international year logo, and when is it expected that approval criteria and usage guideline will be published? Or national committee by own, they can provide the logo for other members.
So there are two dimensions. The logo type was approved by the Executive Council here in June. So the official logo type is existing, and the visual branding guidelines are currently finalized by the Secretariat. And through these branding guidelines, you will know in what context the logo is to be authorized, and that will be made public then through the portal. The portal is where you download these graphic elements, where you will download. My colleague Ke will explain in a second what the portal is for, but it will be communicated through this channel, and then it is under your control how to use within the established logics the logo type for events, which Vanessa explained right now: capacity building, national events, national research. Under the guidelines, you are then the one using the logo type. You just have to register the use in the portal, but that is now the next part of the presentation.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. Veronique Loya, I'm from Israel. It's one question, but It's regarding the national committee. Is there a requirement for a minimum number of committee members, or it should be an equal representation between the private sectors and the public sector? And but the question, and is there a specific government ministry that required to be in the national committee? This is.
Thank you.
Sophia, you want?
Yes, thank you, Veronique, for the question. As I mentioned before, the recommendation is, of course, that the National Committee be inclusive and multi-stakeholder because of the cross-cutting nature of our sector, but there is no size and a structure that is fixed or mandatory, because we also understand that there is no one-size-fits-all model, that each member state, each country is different, the context is different. And even if there is already an existing coordination mechanism, this can be used, avoiding the need to establish new structures. So there is no minimum, there is no size, nothing is fixed. We just encourage member states to extend the invitation to be part of these national committees to relevant public ministries and institutions. As I mentioned before, it could be environment, it could be culture, finance, climate, health, security, whatever the member states consider is relevant for the member states, and also taking into account not only the cross-cutting nature of our sector, but also that this year we are celebrating two themes. We are celebrating sustainability, but also resilience.
Okay. Okay,
Veronique,
thank you very much.
Veronique,
Thank you.
there is an additional little facet which I forgot to mention at the beginning. We consider the International Year also the world's largest consultation on the future of tourism. So the way how you are setting this up is also allowing you to consult with the sector, with the stakeholders, and to get an informed position. As my colleagues all stressed, we aim to get much better into the post-2030 negotiation process, and that is the informed way how we are doing that. So if Israel is formulating through this consultation process also a stakeholder view on how tourism should look like the next 15 to 20 years and what is important, that is an opportunity. But as Sophia said, we reiterate over and over, there is no mandatory requirement. It is an opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katja, please.
Okay.
Hi again. Is supposed to have a national website for this, or should we keep just with the international website about the events? Should we have a national platform or not?
From UN Tourism, we will host that on the UN Tourism website. There will be a sub website. We have already an element of that. There is a larger structure to be unveiled very soon. We encourage you to dedicate a web space to that, whether that is a separate one or not. We leave absolutely up to the national committees.
Thank you.
Are there more questions?
I don't see any hand. Maybe we can continue with Ke and have more questions at the end.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Sophia. Just now, my colleagues have already introduced the established framework, institutional guidelines, and also the criteria. On the practical side, we are also making progress to respond to the questions and the concerns that we have already started receiving from some of our pioneer member states, such as Japan. and more importantly, to support the practice at the national level. One of the questions that we receive concerns the proper use of the international logo, international year logo, and the guidance for engagement. And to address this, we are taking two complementary steps. Next slide, please. As you can see here, first we are preparing, as mentioned by Dirk just now, the terms of use for the logo and the visual identity. This document is still with our legal department. On this page, you can see we outlined some of the guiding principles, including most notably the distinction between an official version logo, which may only be used with the authorization directly from UN Tourism, and also a support version logo that may be authorized by the National Committee, or a what we call a competent national mechanism if the country decide that it's not necessary to establish a national committee. But for this part, I'll stick with the term national committee. So anyways, this support version logo are to be authorized by national committees for national and local level supporting initiatives. It also sets out rules for the correct presentation of the visual identity to ensure that the logos are used in a consistent manner. Next slide, please. And the second step would be a visual identity manual, which is currently being prepared by our communication department. And this manual will serve as a practical guide for organizing communications around the International Year. And it will provide detailed instructions on the use of logo, for example, and other visual elements. It will provide recommendations on branding, messaging, and it will also provide a media toolkit and other resources to help countries organize their national campaigns. We expect this manual to be available within next few weeks. Once it is finalized, it will be published with restricted access probably on the International Year website, as just mentioned by Dirk, which will also be launched shortly. Other important questions that we received include the process for approving the use of the logo, as well as the communication and reporting arrangement between the national committees and the UN Tourism Secretariat. My colleague Vanessa just now introduced the criteria. On the practical front, our response to these questions is the development of an international year portal. Next slide, please. So this portal is still under development, but I can already briefly introduce some of the functionalities that we intend to provide through it. This basic concept is very straightforward. One account will be created for each national committee, or as appropriate, to allow independent management of its own activities. And to support this concept, 4 main functions will be made available through this portal, namely first, registration, second, reporting, third, uploads, and fourth, download. And among them, the first 2 functions, namely registration and reporting, are designed primarily to support the self-management of support initiative recognition and local authorization. Here we are talking about the support version logo here. So as already established in the framework of the International Year, it is the national committees rather than the UN Tourism Secretariat that are responsible for recognizing national level and local level support initiatives. And the portal aims to support each national committee in documenting and managing this exercise following a very simple principle. You first register and later you report. So whenever there is one initiative, whether it is a publication or an event or a capacity building program, whenever there's an initiative that meets the criteria and is to be recognized as a supporting initiative, the National Committee will first go on to the portal and register this individual initiative using a standard template before authorizing the use of the logo. And later, when this initiative is complete, the National Committee will again return to the portal and close the case by reporting on its implementation using the information already provided during the registration process as a basis. Here it's important to notice that UN Tourism will not be responsible for approving individual initiatives. The entire process will be managed by the national committees themselves. And more about this reporting function, in addition to reporting on the implementation of individual initiatives, national committees will also be invited to submit a midterm report and also a final summary report using a standard template, which is also currently being developed. We certainly do not want this reporting to create unnecessary administrative burdens to our focal point. So our objective is to collect sufficient information for the reporting purposes, as mentioned by Sophia just now, and also keep the process as simple as possible. The third function, which is uploads, will allow national committees to contribute to the knowledge legacy of the International Year by uploading reports and training materials with supporting documents. It will also enable the sharing of multimedia assets such as photos, videos, and stories that can support a global communication campaign. And finally, the download function gives access to official resources, including, as mentioned just now, the logo, the guidelines, and templates, and other materials that are developed exclusively for the national committees. Next slide, please. These functions are still being defined and developed by our legal, communication, and IT colleagues. Our objective is to launch the portal after this summer. And in the meantime, the official email address remains available should you have any questions and requests that are not covered by the functionality of this upcoming portal. And here I finish my part.
Thank you, Kay, very much. And we invite again our participants to share questions so that we can provide, hopefully, the answers to them. Are there any questions? Good. So from our side, this is the information we wanted to provide you here today, and to provide you especially insights into elements crucial for establishing national committees and managing these processes. There are more things being developed over the next weeks. We regularly will keep you updated exactly through this format of onboarding webinars on national committees or other specific subject areas. So continue reaching out to us from our side. In the meantime, as Kurt just said, we will share now with the next slide the final email address of the International Year. Do not hesitate to reach out to us, to the regional department, which is in charge of your region. The entire organization is prepared to reply and to assist you and help that this International Year is not only an opportunity to celebrate, but also an opportunity to help implement existing national tourism policy objectives and strategies. From our side, thank you very much. I hand over now to Cordula Wohlmutter, the Regional Director for Europe, for closing remarks.
Thank you so much, dear Dirk, Sophia, Vanessa, and Kurt for the presentation. And I'm very pleased to see the interest of the member states. As I said in the beginning, obviously it's a collaborative effort, and this is needs to be done in close collaboration together with all of us, member states, private sector, and in order to ensure the success of this year 2027. And we look forward to working closely with all of you and remain at your disposal for any clarifications that you might need in order to advance also on the national level or destination level. Thank you so much, everybody, and more to come soon. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Have a nice day.